Stephanie and Vince McMahon have always had a, let's just say, weird dynamic. If you've ever watched WWE during the ruthless aggression era, you probably remember some moments that made you go, wait, did that really happen?
Yeah, I'll think about it.
But things just got a whole lot weirder. Ever since the explosive lawsuit hit the courts, accusing Vince McMahon of trafficking and worse, Stephanie McMahon has finally had enough. After years of silence, covering for the family brand and standing by her father through every scandal imaginable, she's now apologizing and doing the unthinkable. She's snitching on her dad.
So it's been my whole life. And when I was in high school was when my dad was indicted by the federal government.
And what she reveals might just destroy the legacy Vince spent 40 years building. Stephanie McMahon breaks her silence. For decades, Vince McMahon projected an image of ruthless authority both on screen and behind the scenes. His daughter Stephanie grew up in this unique environment, eventually becoming an integral part of the WWE machine, both as an on-screen performer and executive. But recent allegations have cast a shadow over this wrestling dynasty that even their well-oiled PR machine couldn't deflect. In January 2024, former WWE employee Janel Grant filed a shocking lawsuit that accused Vince McMahon of sexual trafficking, assault, and using Grant as a pawn to secure talent deals with prospective wrestlers. The lawsuit, filed in the U.S. District Court for the District of Connecticut, named not only McMahon, but also former head of talent relations John Laurinaitis and WWE itself as defendants. The allegations were deeply disturbing. Grant claimed that McMahon forced her into a sexual relationship to maintain her employment and used WWE resources to traffic her to others. The lawsuit alleged violations of the Trafficking Victims Prevention Act, civil battery, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. But this wasn't the first time McMahon had faced such accusations. Back in 2006, McMahon was accused of groping a tanning salon employee in Boca Raton, Florida, during Royal Rumble weekend. According to reports, McMahon allegedly showed her nude photos unprompted and forcibly groped her in a tanning booth. When confronted about his behavior, he reportedly said he was only trying to have some fun. Even earlier, in 1992, former WWF referee Rita Chatterton alleged that McMahon had raped her in 1986, establishing a troubling pattern of allegations spanning decades. Stephanie McMahon, who has spent her entire life in the wrestling business, has had a complicated relationship with these controversies. In a January 2025 interview on The Pat McAfee Show, she addressed the long-standing public scrutiny her family has faced, particularly during her father's legal troubles. "The media came after my family in a really big and really hard way. I think at that time I was filled with a lot of anger and resentment." She noted that she now views such criticism as just noise, grounding herself in her own beliefs and understanding of her family's position. This perspective didn't come easily. Stephanie has been dealing with public scrutiny of her family since high school, when her father was indicted by the federal government in the early 1990s steroid scandal. While he was ultimately acquitted, the experience clearly left its mark on the younger McMahon.
So it's been my whole life. And when I was in high school was when my dad was indicted by the federal government. And the media came after my family in a really big and really hard way to deal with when we were in high school. And I think at that time I was filled with a lot of anger and resentment, and I had a hard time, navigating all of that.
While she has steadfastly defended the family business in public, behind the scenes, there are indications she may have had significant concerns about her father's conduct, concerns that eventually led to actions that speak louder than words. The dynamics of the McMahon family have always been complicated, with the line between their on-screen characters and real-life personas often blurring. In one particularly troubling instance revealed in a 2024 Netflix docuseries, Vince McMahon disclosed that he once proposed a storyline where his character would be revealed as the father of Stephanie's unborn child. Stephanie reportedly found the idea disgusting and firmly rejected it, one of the few known instances where she directly opposed her father's creative vision. This proposed incestuous storyline, while never implemented, offers a disturbing glimpse into the mindset of Vince McMahon and the boundaries he was willing to push, even when it involved his own daughter. It also highlights the challenging position Stephanie occupied, having to navigate both her role as a dutiful daughter and as a professional in an industry where exploitation has often been normalized. The Grant lawsuit, however, represents a significant escalation from previous controversies. The allegations are both serious and detailed, painting a picture of systematic abuse of power and exploitation. According to the lawsuit, McMahon met Grant when she was living in his building and struggling to find employment. Despite her lack of corporate experience, he allegedly offered her a job in exchange for sexual favors, paying her approximately $200,000 per year plus lavish gifts. The job Grant received was allegedly a fake position called Administrative Coordinator, where she had little actual work to do and instead spent her time sending McMahon explicit photos and videos. The gifts McMahon allegedly gave Grant were extensive, including alternative medical care, WrestleMania tickets, private transportation, expensive gift cards, jewelry, a brand new BMW, spa certificates, and regular flower deliveries. According to the lawsuit, the relationship took an even darker turn when Grant was coerced into sexual encounters with other men at McMahon's direction, including John Laurinaitis, and, according to amended filings, arrangements involving WWE superstar Brock Lesnar. As these allegations emerged, WWE's corporate structure was undergoing significant changes, with Stephanie McMahon playing a pivotal role. To understand these dynamics, we need to look at how the company's leadership evolved during this tumultuous period. In June 2022, WWE's board began investigating a $3 million hush money payment that McMahon had made to a woman with whom he'd allegedly had an affair. This investigation ultimately uncovered that McMahon had paid a total of $12 million to 4 different women over the years to silence allegations of sexual misconduct. During this investigation, board members Manjit Singh and Ignace Lahoud considered resigning. Stephanie McMahon, then on a leave of absence but still a board member, reportedly persuaded them to remain, utilizing voicemails and emails to communicate her position. Subsequently, she assumed the roles of interim CEO and chairwoman after her father's resignation in July 2022. This move positioned Stephanie as a stabilizing force during a time of crisis, stepping into leadership when the company needed direction. However, her tenure would be short-lived. In January 2023, Vince McMahon reinstated himself to WWE's board, leading to Stephanie McMahon's resignation from her executive positions. Stephanie McMahon's resignation. Stephanie McMahon's resignation, following her father's return to the WWE board in January 2023, raised eyebrows throughout the industry. Her departure was interpreted by some, including former WWE host Matt Camp, as indicative of internal disagreements regarding her father's return. Camp remarked that Stephanie's exit told me a lot about the human being, where his own family was like, "Yeah, see you later." This sentiment suggests that Stephanie's resignation wasn't merely a corporate reshuffling, but potentially a moral stance against her father's return amid serious allegations. What did Stephanie know about her father's alleged misconduct? According to legal filings, quite a bit. Grant's lawsuit indicated that Stephanie had knowledge of other instances of her father's sexual misconduct. This allegation suggests that Vince's behavior may have been an open secret within the highest levels of WWE management, including among family members. There's historical evidence to support this notion. Former WWE creative member Christy Joseph recalled that during a 2006 meeting, Stephanie McMahon was notably upset upon learning of allegations against her father, leading to an abrupt end to their discussion. D. Joseph noted, "I think Stephanie was really upset." This recollection suggests that while Stephanie may have been aware of her father's inappropriate behavior, she wasn't necessarily comfortable with it. The emotional reaction described by D. Joseph indicates genuine distress rather than casual acceptance. After stepping away from her executive position, Stephanie maintained a low profile for some time before gradually returning to the public eye. In a January 2025 interview, she acknowledged wanting to disappear for a little while, saying, "I needed it, and now I'm back." This period of withdrawal coincided with the increased scrutiny of her father and the WWE corporate culture. Meanwhile, the Grant lawsuit continued to evolve, with new and disturbing allegations coming to light. In January 2025, an amended complaint filed in the U.S. District Court for the District of Connecticut dropped a bombshell by naming one of WWE's biggest stars, Brock Lesnar. The amended complaint alleged that McMahon had offered Grant to Lesnar for sex in 2021 and demanded she create personalized sexual content for him to secure his contract renewal with WWE. The allegations specifically claimed that McMahon shared explicit photos and videos of Grant with Lesnar, with one instance describing a planned sexual encounter in Connecticut that didn't occur because Lesnar was too intoxicated or there were weather-related travel issues. According to the lawsuit, Vince told Grant that offering her to Lesnar was part of the deal in their contract contract negotiations. When McMahon allegedly informed Lesnar of this arrangement, Lesnar reportedly responded, "LOL, that's your turf, she will be ruined. After me and leave your ass. Plus, after me, your tool won't fit anymore," followed by laughing emojis. This response suggests Lesnar may have been uncomfortable with McMahon's offer and was trying to deflect by joking about it. However, Grant claimed that after this exchange, Lesnar directly messaged her asking for a video of her urinating, which she provided. This allegation directly implicated Lesnar in inappropriate communication with Grant, though it's important to note that Lesnar is not listed as a defendant in the lawsuit, meaning he's not being sued directly. The allegations involving Lesnar had immediate repercussions for the former WWE and UFC champion. His last WWE appearance was in 2023, and his involvement in these allegations led to his exclusion from events like the Royal Rumble in early 2025. Some reports suggest that WWE is waiting for the legal situation to blow over before considering his return, indicating that the company recognizes the serious nature of these allegations. Fan reactions to Lesnar's involvement have been polarized. On social media platforms like X, formerly Twitter, some fans expressed strong disapproval, with one user hoping that Lesnar, McMahon, and Laurinaitis would rot in hell. Another fan stated, "I used to love him as the Beast, but now, nah, I'm done. Can't support someone involved in this mess," indicating a shift in allegiance due to these allegations. Some fans have even called for boycotts of WWE over Lesnar's involvement, showing the potential impact on the company's reputation and bottom line. However, not all fans are convinced of Lesnar's culpability. On Reddit, some users defended Lesnar, noting that he has been married to former WWE wrestler Sable for around 20 years, and suggesting that he might not have been aware of the criminal nature of McMahon's actions. The inclusion of Lesnar in the lawsuit represents a significant escalation, bringing in one of WWE's most recognizable and commercially successful stars. It also expands the scope of the allegations, suggesting that McMahon's alleged exploitation of Grant extended to using her as leverage in business negotiations with top talent. Let's now look at the financial aspects of the case, particularly the hush money payments and the eventual breakdown of the agreement between McMahon and Grant. According to the lawsuit, the inappropriate relationship between McMahon and Grant lasted from approximately 2019 to 2022. Around 2022, McMahon allegedly told Grant that his wife had discovered their affair and that Grant needed to leave WWE immediately, as her position had been created solely for the purpose of facilitating their sexual relationship. In an attempt to keep the situation quiet, McMahon offered Grant $1 million to sign a non-disclosure agreement, NDA. However, Grant reportedly countered with a request for $3 million, citing loss of earning potential. McMahon agreed to this amount, with the payment structure consisting of $1 million upfront and $500,000 every 6 months, until the full $3 million was paid. As part of this agreement, McMahon allegedly instructed Grant to continue appeasing Lesnar if he messaged her. Grant claims she continued to send explicit content to Lesnar, and there were plans for him to fly in and have sex with her, though this never happened due to weather conditions. After the initial $1 million payment was made, news broke about McMahon's various NDAs with multiple women who had worked at WWE. In the wake of this publicity, McMahon stopped making the remaining payments to Grant, paying only the initial $1 million of the agreed-upon $3 million. This breach of their agreement is likely one of the factors that led Grant to file her lawsuit in January 2024. The financial implications of this scandal extend beyond the payments to Grant. In January 2025, the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, announced that McMahon had agreed to pay a $400,000 fine and reimburse $1.3 million to WWE for failing to disclose non-disclosure agreements. Specifically, McMahon had failed to disclose a 2019 payment of $7.5 million and the 2022 payment of $3 million, raising questions about financial transparency and corporate governance at WWE. In May 2024, Grant agreed to pause her lawsuit for 6 months at the request of the U.S. Department of Justice, pending a federal investigation. This stay was lifted in December 2024, allowing the case to proceed. In early 2025, Grant's attorneys filed motions to amend the complaint, which is when Lesnar was officially named. As of March 2025, Grant filed a reply, brief opposing efforts by McMahon, WWE, and Laurinaitis to block the amended complaint. She argued that new developments, including the SEC findings against McMahon for failing to disclose hush money payments, should be considered in the case. The defendants, however, are pushing for private arbitration Escalation, citing the January 2022 NDA with the $1 million payment, which Grant's team contests. Judge Sarah F. Russell is expected to decide whether to allow the amended complaint or proceed with the original. Stephanie's quiet exit may have started as a personal retreat, but it ultimately became a turning point, one that set the stage for a deeper unraveling of Vince McMahon's empire and forced WWE into the most turbulent transition in its history: the post-Vince era. The allegations against Vince McMahon didn't emerge in a vacuum but were part of a troubling pattern that spans decades. His history of alleged misconduct dates back to at least 1992, when former WWF referee Rita Chatterton alleged that he had raped her in 1986. Combined with the 2006 tanning salon incident and the recent allegations by Grant, a consistent pattern of behavior emerges over a long period. Beyond these specific allegations of sexual misconduct, McMahon has faced various other controversies throughout his career. In the early 1990s, he was indicted on charges of conspiracy to distribute steroids following the conviction of Dr. George Zahorian, who had supplied steroids to WWE wrestlers. Although McMahon was acquitted in 1994, the scandal cast a shadow over the company and raised questions about his leadership and ethics. There have also been allegations that McMahon covered up for wrestlers involved in serious misconduct. For example, he allegedly told Steve Austin's then-wife Deborah not to discuss domestic violence charges publicly in the late 1990s. Additionally, McMahon has been criticized for creative decisions that many found disturbing or exploitative, such as a 2006 live TV segment involving Edge and Lita that wrestlers opposed, but McMahon pushed forward with to boost ratings. Another recent legal battle involving McMahon is a 2024 case in Maryland, alleging that WWE enabled the sexual exploitation of young boys in the 1980s and 1990s. This lawsuit, while separate from Grant's allegations, further contributes to the picture of a company where misconduct was allegedly tolerated or even facilitated under McMahon's leadership. The Grant lawsuit had immediate and significant consequences for WWE's corporate structure. Vince McMahon, who had returned as executive chairman of TKO Group, formed by WWE's merger with UFC in September 2023, was forced to resign from that position in January 2024, following Grant's filing. This represented a definitive end to his official involvement with the company he had built over 4 decades. Current WWE leadership, particularly Paul Triple H Levesque, Stephanie's husband, who is now effectively the creative head of the company, has been criticized for his response to the allegations. When asked if he had read the lawsuit, Levesque claimed he had not, despite it involving his father-in-law and the grandfather of his children. His description of the week as amazing for WWE, presumably referring to business developments rather than the lawsuit, struck many as tone-deaf given the serious nature of the allegations. Stephanie McMahon has maintained a more nuanced position in the aftermath of these allegations. After resigning from her executive roles in January 2023, she kept a relatively low profile before gradually re-emerging in the public eye. In her January 2025 interview on The Pat McAfee Show, she focused primarily on WWE's business successes, particularly its landmark deal with Netflix, rather than directly addressing the allegations against her father. When asked about stepping away from WWE, Stephanie commented,
"I never stopped being proud, ever. I do think I wanted to disappear for a little while, and I kind of did, and it was good for me. I needed it. And now I'm back."
This statement suggests a period of personal reflection during a time of family crisis, followed by a deliberate decision to return to public life. Stephanie's current relationship with WWE is complex. She no longer holds an official executive position but remains deeply connected to the company through her husband, Triple H, and her lifelong involvement with the business. During her interview, she frequently referred to WWE as "our company" before catching herself, saying, "I know it's not our anymore, but to the WWE employees." This slip reveals her continued emotional investment in the company, despite her official departure. It's worth noting that Stephanie has been developing her own projects outside of WWE's direct control. She announced a new show called Stephanie's Places, in partnership with Omaha Productions and WWE, where she'll be exploring the stories behind the biggest stars in WWE. This venture allows her to maintain a connection to wrestling while establishing an identity separate from the direct corporate structure her father dominated for so long. The allegations against Vince Vince McMahon have had broader implications for WWE's corporate culture and creative direction. Under Triple H's leadership, many fans and critics have noted improvements in the in-ring product and storytelling. There seems to be a conscious effort to move away from some of the more controversial aspects of the McMahon era while maintaining the core entertainment value that made WWE successful. The financial implications of these allegations continue to unfold. The corporate response to Grant's lawsuit was significant. When it was filed in January 2024, Slim Jim immediately withdrew its sponsorship of the Royal Rumble, indicating the potential financial impact of these controversies on WWE's business relationships. This sponsor withdrawal, combined with the public relations damage, likely contributed to McMahon's decision to resign from TKO on January 26, 2024. Despite these challenges, WWE has continued to secure major business deals, most notably its landmark agreement with Netflix. This suggests that while the allegations against McMahon have certainly damaged his personal reputation, the WWE brand itself has shown remarkable resilience. This may be partly due to the company's swift action in distancing itself from McMahon once the allegations became public. For Stephanie McMahon, navigating this period has undoubtedly been challenging both personally and professionally. As someone who grew up in the wrestling business and worked closely with her father for decades, reconciling her personal loyalty with the serious nature of the allegations against him has likely been a complex emotional process. In her public statements, Stephanie has focused on the positive aspects of WWE's legacy and future rather than directly addressing the allegations against her father. This approach allows her to maintain her connection to the company and industry she loves while creating distance from the controversy surrounding Vince McMahon. The handling of the Lesnar situation also reflects WWE's struggle to navigate these controversies. Lesnar was pulled from the Royal Rumble in early 2025, presumably due to his naming in the amended complaint. Some reports suggest WWE is waiting for the legal situation to blow over before considering Lesnar's return, indicating a reactive rather than proactive approach to addressing these serious allegations. Looking ahead, WWE faces the challenge of rebuilding its reputation in the wake of these controversies. The company's handling of the situation, from McMahon's initial retirement in 2022 to his return and subsequent resignation in 2024, to the ongoing litigation, will be scrutinized by fans, sponsors, and media alike. The success of this rebuilding effort will depend on WWE's willingness to acknowledge past issues and implement meaningful changes to prevent similar problems in the future. For fans, the allegations present a difficult reckoning with their support for a company that may have enabled or covered up serious misconduct. Many are grappling with how to reconcile their love for professional wrestling with the troubling revelations about one of its most influential figures. Some have chosen to boycott WWE entirely, while others continue to support the company while hoping for positive changes under new leadership. The lawsuit also intersects with broader societal conversations about accountability, power, and justice in cases of alleged sexual misconduct. As with many high-profile cases, it raises questions about who gets believed, what evidence is required, and how we balance the principles of due process with supporting those who come forward with allegations of abuse. It's important to note that as of April 2, 2025, McMahon has consistently denied all allegations through his attorney, describing the amended complaint as a publicity stunt filled with desperate falsehoods. His legal team is pushing for private arbitration based on the NDA signed in January 2022, which Grant's team argues should be voided due to the circumstances under which it was signed. The ultimate resolution of this case may take years, with potential for appeals, settlements, or even criminal charges, depending on the findings of ongoing investigations. Regardless of the legal outcome, the allegations have already fundamentally altered perceptions of McMahon and raised important questions about power, accountability, and ethics in professional wrestling. For WWE, the post-McMahon era represents both a challenge and an opportunity. Without its founder at the helm for the first time in decades, the company has the chance to forge a new identity and corporate culture. Early indications suggest that under Triple H's creative leadership, the in-ring product has improved, with greater emphasis on wrestling ability and storytelling coherence. However, the shadow of these allegations will continue to loom large over the company for the foreseeable future. For Stephanie McMahon, this period represents a potential opportunity to redefine her relationship with the company and industry she grew up in. By establishing herself as a voice independent from her father's legacy, she may be able to contribute to a more positive future for WWE while acknowledging the serious issues raised by these allegations. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed watching this video, click on one of the boxes playing on your screen to watch more similar content.